G'day, I'm Paul. So today we're checking out the new BMW 7 Series. Tell you what, this thing is absolutely enormous. So I'm going to run you through some of the cool features because this just has some of the most mind-blowing stuff I've ever seen on a car. This is the new 7 Series, but it's also the new i7, which is an all-electric version of the 7 Series as well. Pricing for Australia has been released. So this one here is the i7 xDrive 60, just under $300,000 plus options, which is pretty hardy. So yeah, today's going to be a quick walk around and then later on we'll get a chance to drive it. We've also had a look at the new M3 Touring today as well, so you can see a link to that video in the description below. But let's get started with this one. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon. That's going to tell you every single time we do fun stuff like this. Now, before I show you some of the cool stuff here, this thing has grown. This is now longer than the long wheelbase version of the previous generation 7 Series, and it will only come in the one spec. So that is why when you see this on the road, you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, that thing is enormous. They've kind of gone down the path of making it a hybrid between an SUV and a luxury sedan, and I'll run you through why all that makes sense in just a second. But let's start up the front here. Have a look at this. So up the top, you have Swarovski crystals. So when you unlock this, it actually shimmers. They're using LEDs there to make it look like it's a crystal sort of shimmering in the light. And then during the day, when you do actually have sun shining on it, that'll naturally shimmer on its own as well. Down here is where the headlight is. So this design is pretty controversial because they've split the daytime running light and the headlight, and it gives you this sort of odd looking front end. They've tried to mask it up as much as they can with this black paint job, but I'll be curious to see what this looks like in a white or something like that. It is very imposing and very different, so once you see it in person, maybe you'll change your mind, but you never know. They've ditched laser lights as well, so we actually did a headlight comparison a while ago where we tested a whole range of headlights, including BMW's laser lights, and they weren't quite as good as some of the better LED options, so it looks like they're moving away from that tech and now just sticking with LEDs, which have advanced to the point where you're getting the same projection anyway. And if you do want to watch that video, you can click up here to see exactly what that's all about. Have a look at this as well. You have like a halo around the kidney there too. So they really just have gone to town with LED here. These louvers open and close depending on the cooling requirements for the vehicle. So this is the full electric version. I'll make that pop back on. This is the full electric version, so you're going to have different cooling requirements to the internal combustion, but because they share a platform, you really have a lot of the hangover effects from internal combustion here, which I guess is just something you have to deal with. Giant radar sensor there with camera there as well. And this pops out to wash the camera as required. A little bit more cooling down the bottom there too. Watch this feature. So I'm going to get my key over here. They've borrowed some tech from Rolls-Royce because BMW, of course, owns Rolls-Royce. If you push and hold this, cracks all the doors open. So if you are feeling lazy and you don't want to do it yourself, it will take care of it. But the other interesting thing as well, which I hear you asking is, Paul, what happens if you're parked right next to another car? And I'm going to demonstrate now. Watch this. I'm going to push and hold this. See how that stops, but the rest open? So it's got sensors on the side here that take care of all of that sort of stuff, so you're not going to be belting your new car doors into any other cars, which I think is cool. I could probably play with that feature all day long. Before we jump inside the cabin, come around to the back and we'll have a look at this design. Have a look at this. So look how tall that is. This is the new 7 Series. It was never this big, but the customers said they wanted a bigger vehicle, and that's why they've gone down the path of supersizing this. And I think if you sat this next to an old 7 Series, you would see just how much bigger this is in every way. So around the back here, you have a chrome element along the top of the taillight there, full LED taillights. And as you move your way down the bottom here, a lot of piano black down there, but obviously hiding those exhausts, given this is just the electric version. And you'll be able to tell the electric version of the 7 Series aside from the internal combustion one with that I badge just there, and then xDrive 60 over here. You open and close the boot using this button here. When you do crack it open, you have 500 litres of cargo space available here. Because this is electric, you do have a bit of a limit there in terms of what you can do. There are a lot of battery components there that get in the way of things. If you go down the path of the internal combustion version of the 7 Series, you do get more boot space, but you still get storage beneath the cargo floor here to store your cable and other sort of bits and pieces there. Just on charging, it has the ability to charge at 195 kilowatts on DC. You also have AC charging available as well. I think it's a little bit disappointing that BMW still hasn't caught up with brands like Hyundai, Porsche, Kia, who do have faster charging available. So I think that is to preserve battery life and that kind of thing. Now, before I get inside, you push this to open the door, and push and open it comes, and then you hop in. Continuing with the theme of pulling tech from Rolls-Royce, you don't have to close the door manually. You can use a button here on the dash panel, and then that will basically pull that door shut. Or what you can also do is push and hold the button and then pull the door towards you. Now what that does is you're not actually closing it manually. The electric motor is assisting you because it's quite a heavy door. So they really have thought of everything here. This looks incredible, and I know this is a $300,000 car and it should look good, but to be honest, this is probably the most luxurious car I've ever sat in, including Rolls-Royce stuff. This really does look absolutely top-notch. I guess I'll start with the infotainment system. So this is adopted from the iX. It's a curved display, really just stands out and looks incredibly nice. It uses OS 8, which is the latest and greatest version of BMW iDrive. What they have done though is moved a fascinating control, because I always thought it was a bit odd with the iX that you had to go into the climate menu to run all your controls for heating and cooling. Now what they've done is they've allowed you to control the fans down here using this touch sensitive pad. You've got one on the driver's side as well, so that'll individually control all of these fans. But then in addition to that, instead of hiding air vent controls like they do in a Tesla or a Taycan, they've actually gone down the path of these little rubberized controls down here that allow you to move the vents without having to go deep diving into a menu. So it's just really clever functionality. And the beauty of it all is here in these materials. So wood along the dashboard there, you've got this ambient lighting that is configurable and behind a bit of a crystal element. So it just really looks high end. The seats themselves, cashmere wool, very fancy. You've got some high end leather up the top there along the dashboard as well. This thing looks absolutely sensational. They've tried to then focus on some recycled materials. So the roof and the carpets use recycled materials, so you can feel nice about your eco-consciousness. So yeah, if you are driving this, you're gonna feel, you know, like you're in a luxury vehicle, but it all continues in the back, where I think they've just taken this to an absolute other level. So let's hop into the back and have a look. Welcome to the Luxury Express. Let's talk about the sound system first. 35 speaker Bowers & Wilkins sound system. It outputs almost 2 kilowatts of power. It is just ridiculous. It's got 4D surround sound, whatever that means. But the centerpiece of all this is this screen up here. It is ridiculous. So over 30 inches in size. It's an 8K display. It folds down and basically gives you the ability to watch movies in the back seat. So let's click on this. Touchscreen as well, by the way. Comes with Fire TV, which is basically an Amazon stick that allows you to stream movies, stream TV shows and that sort of thing. So this will have internet connectivity, and it means that you can basically connect in and do whatever you want to do. But it does get better than that. So you're obviously not going to just sit here and watch the TV sitting as you are. So what you can do is we'll go over to the seat menu, and then I can put my seat into position number 3. What this does is it moves your passenger seat out of the way, and it allows me to stretch out so I can actually properly watch television while the driver is going around the place. Now, while all this is getting set up, it's probably worth calling out what this car's all about in terms of its drive. So you have over 100 kilowatt hours worth of battery capacity, 400 kilowatts of power, 745 newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in under 5 seconds. Twin electric motors, one on the front axle, one on the rear axle. So it is pretty comprehensive in terms of how it's going to drive. And I suspect, being a BMW, it's going to ride nicely as well with air suspension. As our seat comes out, I actually feel really bad putting my shoes on this white leather, but I've got clean shoes, as you all know. Oh man, this is unreal. So basically, in terms of safety features, what they do is so people behind you don't watch the screen while you're basically watching it yourself, this blind comes up at the back, so you can't actually see what's going on here at all. And then in addition to that, your driver obviously can't see what's going out the back there. So it is a really fascinating setup, and I do wonder whether that means this is going to translate to other BMW products in the future, because it is a pretty unreal arrangement. So there is so much more tech and so many more features to talk about in this car that we just don't have time to talk about today. But when we do finally get one for a drive, I'm going to run you through it in as much detail as I can. But if you do have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. And what do you think about all this? Is this a bit too much? Is this going to distract people when they're meant to be concentrating on the road? I'm keen for your feedback. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it, you share it with your mates, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.